Welcome to the podcast. My name is Jamie Knight, and I'm a realtor with Real Broker here in Cajun Country, Lafayette, Louisiana. The goal of this podcast is to provide massive value by bringing insider access to our area's top agents and find out how they've been able to achieve massive success in their business. My goal and my hope is that you take a few things away from their experiences to grow your own business. My guest today, and I'm so excited, y'all, is Houston, Texas realtor and team leader Katie Day from Real Broker. So, Katie, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm excited to have you. It's a beautiful day in Louisiana, and it's a beautiful day in Texas, I can imagine. So we're enjoying this beautiful weather, and we're hanging out on a podcast. So I can't be more excited to be with you.
For sure, for sure. I'm excited to dig in.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into the real estate business, what areas that you serve, and what role that you're playing right now in your business.
Yeah, definitely. So I got into real estate full time in 2017. Not a very exciting story. Basically, I was getting laid off from a job and decided that instead of going to interview and find another job doing property management, which was what I was doing before this, that I would try things on my own and get my real estate license. So I got my license, basically set aside 6 months worth of bills, and gave that to my husband and said, hey, here's my portion of bills for 6 months. And let's see if I can make this work and see how it goes. I leased a bunch of houses and apartments and just kind of pieced things together, but continued to make things happen. And then he eventually got into real estate as well. 2018, we started a team, just because, as many of us know, the business kind of eats you up and you're working long hours. And we had so much business that we couldn't have a life and also, help all of the clients that were inquiring. So we started a team. And then I've just kind of grown the team since then. We've had as many as 20 plus agents on the team. Right now we have 10 total agents and a sales manager. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and I'm happy to be in real estate and have the opportunities that we have in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. This is just so amazing that we get the opportunity to do this every day of our lives. It's awesome. So I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and I'm fired up about something that I was thinking about. So couldn't go to sleep. So I'm like, let me just get a bunch of work done. Anyway, so I don't know if people are as excited to wake up at 4 a.m. to go work at some random job, right? So it's exciting what we get to do for sure. So I guess expand a little bit too, because you and I are actually at the same company as well.
Yep.
We're both at Real Broker. So tell us how long, and I guess maybe where you started and then where you are now, or when you came to Real also.
Yeah, as far as brokerage goes, yeah, for sure. So I got into real estate full time in 2017, and at the time was with Coldwell Banker. So I was there for almost 5 years, and then I came over to Real in 2021. And yeah, so I think we had around 2,000 agents at the time when I joined, and so now we're sitting at 26,000. So it's been an interesting journey, kind of seeing the company grow and evolve and change over the years. So it's been a lot of fun to get to where we are with Real now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And our company came over with 50 agents, took the entire agent brokerage, the whole brokerage over to Real, and we actually tipped the scales over 12,000 agents. So to see us in, a little over a year go from 12,000 to 26,000 agents, I thought that was just awesome. And it
Yeah.
was the right choice in the beginning, and I still do feel like it's the right choice for our purposes here in the South. So tell us what maybe you like about Real for sure, and then we'll get into some other stuff, into some other really solid nuggets that everybody's going to take from you.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing in coming over, especially from a brick and mortar, more traditional type brokerage, was the fact that the economics worked really well for me, right? And so being at a brokerage that had franchise fees and transaction fees and things like that, and then coming here where, the splits were better and there was a lot of opportunity for stock with our elite agent program and things like that, I was like, oh, well, this is a no-brainer. So that was the initial move, was strictly financial. And then once I made the move over, was here for a while, it was really cool what a collaborative environment we have here. And, everyone says that, and I think it's something that's very hard to make like a tangible thing, right? Like if I'm talking to you about Real and I'm telling you about our collaborative environment, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. Like you have great culture. Everyone says that.
Right.
But it's something that like I've been blown away by, the collaboration and the willingness that people have to help out with things or to hop on podcasts like these or do different things with each other. And so that's something that, I didn't really experience at previous brokerages or anything like that. And so that's like what I truly love now is that. And then obviously, the financial stuff doesn't hurt. The culture and the people is definitely what sets it apart for me now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm feeling the same way. And I've just started my own process of getting into all of these different Zoom meetings and get invited to all these awesome things and these different masterminds on YouTube and masterminds on Instagram and all of these things. So it's just great to be a part of all of that stuff. And one thing that I am excited about possibly coming to, and I'm trying to work my schedule out to be able to join you guys in San Antonio, is the Rev B conference, mastermind, whatever you're calling it, right? You and Tim Macy are putting that on. So tell us a little bit about Rev B and what that's all about.
Yeah, I don't know if Tim went through kind of the start of it and everything, but basically a few years back, we were kind of talking about conferences and events and masterminds and things. And like, we're like, hey, like it would be kind of cool for us to get together with some of our friends and like talk about what's working with video, what people are doing to generate business, right? Because like we know a ton of people that are using social media and video to generate business, but like what if they shared kind of like what works for them and their blueprint? And so what kind of started of like a, hey, let's get together with some of our friends turned into like, all right, well, if we got a hotel ballroom and we did some round tables and we did this thing, and then we're like, well, who would we have speak? And then like as we kind of kept talking about it, it like was less of a mastermind and more of like, okay, we're gonna throw an event. Humble beginnings, like the first event we did, like we were running slides from a laptop like on a podium on the stage, right? So the speakers
Gotcha.
had to walk up to the laptop to like click next.
Right.
And we like during breaks we would flip from slides over to Spotify, and I had like made a playlist of like upbeat, like techno-y
Yeah.
type music for people, and like that was also where we played like when people walked on and off stage. So it was like very like bootleg type event, but the entire premise behind it is back then still rings true today, and that was like we want to be able to be as tactile as possible to share what's working, to share exactly what people are doing to generate business for people at whatever level they are, right? So we have some stuff where it's like, hey, I just shoot on my phone and I don't do any edits and I just upload it immediately. And there's some where it's like, hey, I shoot it on my phone, then I send it off to an editor, and this is what I have them do. And then we have the people that are creating like cinematic masterpieces, right? And so we want to kind of give like, hey, here's the chapter 1, chapter 5, chapter 10 of this strategy. Like now go execute. And so that's our biggest goal, right? Is to give as tactical information as possible so that you can leave with like, here's the thing, and now I'm going to go do it type mindset.
Yeah, I love that because you're right. I've been to several conferences and they're like, let's go. We're doing video. Let's go. All right, everybody, let's go do video. And you get all fired up and you're like, all right, let's do video. And then how do you do video?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Or what do I do? What do
Yeah.
I do? What should I do? What's working? You see a lot of these people who have great followings and they don't do that much business. So it's what's working, but also what's working and generating you business, because followers and counts and all those things are great, but if it's not generating you business, what are you doing with it? So
Yeah.
it's got to be fun to see people even succeed with not a crazy amount of followers. Tim was even saying on the podcast, he was like, I've got a page I just started. It's got like 100 followers, local page. And he's like, man, I'm getting 30,000 views on these things, which is
Yeah.
crazy to even think about. But just showing me what he was doing and all that was great. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing on. Let's start with Instagram, because I follow you on Instagram and you're doing amazing things. So tell us what you're doing and what's working for you right now on Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing with Instagram is right now in early 2025, right, is creating content that is shareable, right? And so when you think like other than like sending a funny meme to a buddy or, to a friend, like what are the things that you're sharing with your partner or with a friend or with a whatever it may be, like a person, right? And so like that could be hyper local content about what's opening or closing in your area. It could be different things that may be impacting the real estate market and things like that. Like, but like people don't care about like how many homes sold, right? They care if like if they wanted to sell their home, like how long would it take, right? And so it's like kind of shifting your mindset of like what everyone else is doing to like, hey, what are the things that are happening in my area and why would someone care? And is this something that they would share with a friend? And so that varies for everyone. So for me right now, I'm creating like local content where it's like a green screen type thing where I'm basically talking about like different developments and things that are happening in Houston. And the shares and saves have been like off the charts. Like over the past 30 days, it's had like over 1 million views. And none of it's like, it's one, it's very easy to create. And two, like none of it's like groundbreaking information. It's just like I'm simply reporting the news. And so that's something that like has been interesting kind of experiment, if you will, that I started back in like December.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is the green screen things really worked well a couple years ago, but it seems like they're kind of coming back now, but coming back as the local news reporter for your community, which I really like thinking about it like that because what you guys are doing is working and it's cool to see. And I mean, us here in Lafayette, Louisiana, I've got a lot of friends that are in the Houston market. So even for somebody like me to see something that's going on in Houston, especially when it's something that has to do with kids or an upcoming development, like I love seeing that, even not being in Houston or having any intention to move to Houston. So hey, this is just some great information that you can share with a friend. And maybe I share it with my friend who lives in Houston, but I'm
Yeah.
not even in Houston. So it's really a cool way to do it. And it's fun. And really, like you said, it's none of it's groundbreaking or anything. It's could be kind of not even super mind blowing thing, but it's like, hey, check this out.
Well, and it's
So
it's always interesting, and I talk to a lot of content creators, especially as we're like looking for speakers to speak at our event and things like that. But like, whenever you think that like, oh hey, this is gonna perform so well and people are gonna love it, like those are often the videos that like don't do very well, and it's like then you create one where you're like, oh shit, like let me just get this done really quick, and you do it, and then it's like those are the ones that go crazy and perform well and you get tons of shares and saves and comments and all these things. So it's like it's really wild that sometimes it's not what you thought was going to be the thing. So
yeah, I dig that. Well, talk to us a little bit about getting people off of Instagram. So
yeah.
it's great to get those follows. It's great to get those views. It's great to have people come into your profile. But what does that look like for you to actually get them off of the platform? How are you working that angle?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but the biggest thing is as you said, like getting email addresses, right? And trying to do it in a way that's not like bait and switch. So if you are highlighting properties, it could just be like, hey, comment. Let me rewind first. So like I use ManyChat, ManyChat. And so that's basically an automation service. So if I said, hey, comment Knight or comment Jamie or comment whatever on this, then there's either an exchange of information or I send you a link or there's something like that, right? And so for me, like I have an agent email list. And so I'm like, hey, if you comment mastermind, I'll send you my mastermind links every single week. And so I've grown an agent email list with that, right? And so like when you think about that, when you're thinking about like for me to a consumer, there's a few different ways. So the first would be like doing that with properties, right? So like, hey, if you want me to email you information on this property, comment deal of the week or comment DOW for deal of the week or comment Main because it's on Main Street or whatever that may be. So properties would be one. Two would be like local interests. So if like it's like, hey, if you want all of the businesses that are opening in this neighborhood, comment neighborhood. That's probably too long of a word, but like
And then people
comment
can't
new.
spell it, right? Yeah.
That's the thing when you're using ManyChat, you have to think about like how easy is this word, and also are there alternate spellings that I should consider. So like when I'm like using a word, I'm like trying to think how could people misspell this, even if it is like new, like oh maybe they'll
Right.
think it's KNEW. So you can use properties, you can use like what's happening as far as like new things, and then you can also do like kind of the lead magnet type stuff of like the buying and selling the home at the same time, or buying a new construction home. Those are less like because that's like pretty far down the funnel. And then the last one would be like lists, like hey, if you want like my top 10 brunches in Houston, comment brunch and I'll send it over to you. So just different things that people may raise their hand and say, oh, that's of interest to me, kind of thing.
Gotcha. And when you're sending that mini chat, what are you sending them to? Like, what does that link look like?
So you can use ManyChat to create like a conversation. So say you comment the word, we'll just say new, right? You comment new, then I would respond and be like, hey there, thanks so much for your comment. For me to send you over the list of new whatever, please give me your email address. And then you would type in your email address and I'd say, oh, hey, thanks so much. I'll send it over to your email shortly. And then you can use like Zapier or some sort of automation thing to then push whatever your thing is that you're sending them, your list of new stuff, to their email. So ManyChat can do all of that. And then, normally you can tie ManyChat to like your CRM or a newsletter email provider like Constant Contact or Flowdesk or MailChimp or something like that to then send the email to them.
Yeah, so you're not actually going through and actually getting them to fill out a form. You're actually just going and having them reply with their email address is the best way.
Correct. So you can do the form, but I've found, and most people found, that like if there's more than one step,
Gotcha.
you're like, God, I don't want to fill out this form, and so like you want to
Yeah.
make it as like idiot proof as possible and like keep them on platform, because the other thing to consider is like if we're exchanging DMs, even if it is some automated, the algorithm, Instagram's going to see that we're exchanging DMs and like likely would put my content higher in your feed if we have some DM history. So like, one, you want to keep on the platform just because it's easier, but then if it also helps to put your content, in front of people more frequently, that's, I think, a win-win.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's so awesome. Yeah, because I've heard a lot of people talk about ManyChat and how they're using it, and I am trying to start that process myself. So that question was more for my own curiosity of like how the process works and stuff. So I appreciate you doing that, and I'm going to have you kind of maybe send me some screenshots on what
Yeah.
you're actually putting in there, because that would be awesome. And maybe I can share that on our Instagram page, the
Yeah.
screenshots of how you're doing that.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, so like for you, right? Like if you were trying to get more listeners to the podcast, right? Then it's like you could say like, hey, comment pod and I'll send you the link, and it shoots them over like the link to Spotify or Apple or whatever platform you want. And then like once you send that link, then you could be like, oh, hey, also if you'd like, it could 24 hours later, you could send another message that says like, hey, if you'd like for me to email you every time we release a new episode, what's your email address? Like register here. And
Yeah.
like then you could get their emails as well. So like there's a lot of different uses for it, but it's cool too, because like when you get into ManyChat, there's so many templates that like depending on what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to sell a product, get email addresses, just send links to people, whatever it is, like a lot of them are already kind of made, so it's fairly easy to set up. It's sometimes that second or third step that then gets a little complicated.
Yeah. Are you using landing pages at all on any of this, or you're kind of leaning more on this back and forth with ManyChat?
So we do have some landing pages that are set up for like new clients, right? So if like you say, hey, I'm looking to buy a house, like we have a home buyer inquiry page, we have a renter inquiry page, we have, some of these things that are hidden on our website. So like I would have to send you the direct link, or it's like in an automation somewhere where like click through and you schedule a consult, and then we send that to you to fill out after you've scheduled a consult. But like as far as landing pages of like a click here to learn more about like whatever, we don't use them in that sense. It's more of a, once you kind of raise your hand and say, hey, I want to do something, like then those some things are landing pages. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that definitely, yeah, for sure. And I actually like that strategy, because I feel like I would have probably set it up like a landing page and probably not have as much success as you did, just because of that back and forth and quick, easier path of entry to the system, which I like that idea. Really, I would have totally missed that. I'm glad you said that, because I'm setting it up. I'm thinking, oh, I've got to create landing pages, and I've got to had ManyChat send a landing page link or something, which would then take them off platform, and then they probably wouldn't have filled out the link. It'd be better to just, like you said, hey, what's a good email for you?
Yeah, and even though it like pre-populates often, right? Because like you've entered in your name and your email and your phone number thousands of times on your computer, like people just like don't necessarily want to give the information, but like if it's in conversation, sometimes they feel a little bit more inclined to provide their information if it feels more conversational than filling out a form.
Yeah, I love that. So give us an idea of like how much of the percentage of your business comes from Instagram now, and what percentage comes from like past clients. Are you tracking any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as our team breakdown, about 30% of our deals come from agent to agent referrals. So when people are relocating to Texas or out of Texas, right? More so relocating to, but when people are moving in or out of Texas, having our great agent partners sending us referrals, then about 25-ish% comes from clients and Sphere either transacting again or sending us referrals. And so we do anywhere between 4 to 6 client events per year, as well as in the months where we don't have in-person events, we do either virtual events or pop buys or mail outs or different stuff like that. And then the rest is from like YouTube, Instagram. We have a pretty great association. So like we get pretty good leads on our just like website kind of thing from the association. Yeah, and then the rest is just like kind of 1 and 2s, random sign calls, door knocking, open houses, just kind of random leads from there.
Yeah, I like it. So tell us a little bit about YouTube. What kind of content is like actually working for you on that platform?
So we had a really great YouTube channel in like 2020, 2021, where I was doing kind of hyper local content, talking about the housing market, talking about like what it's like moving here. And then as time went on, I made less and less videos, and then it just became a dumping ground for all kinds of videos. And so if you go look at our YouTube channel as it lives today, it's basically just home tours, either that we've shot at builder and new construction communities and our listings. And so at the beginning of the year, we actually kicked off a new YouTube channel. And so I think I have like maybe 1 subscriber. So it's like, that's something that like, it's when I coach agents about video and talk about video and social media and things like that all day long, I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. I just need to execute on it for myself. And so I have this like Instagram project that I'm working on now, and now a YouTube project that I'm working on now. So we're relaunching a new channel. So it's been a fun kind of Q1 2025 project. But the old videos, what's funny enough, like the old videos still bring in inquiries and leads, but like now we're just kicking off a new channel, kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, I like it because then you can build it exactly the way that you're coaching and teaching these people how to build it, and with your friends, and say, hey, call up some of these big YouTube guys, right? Jeremy Knight, Raj Sahu, like all those guys are really killing it, and they're close to you, right? Not terribly far down the road from you. So you can call those guys, and they're awesome. Like a lot of times I'll call or text them and be like, hey, trying to do this. What do you think? Man, don't do that. Do this. So it's like, it's cool to have people who are making it in the YouTube space in Texas that are absolutely killing it, and being able to, hey, what should I do even to get this thing going? So how are you getting people reaching out to you from YouTube? Because that's another maybe personal question that I'm kind of curious about, is how are these people actually contacting you on YouTube? Are they kind of messaging you, commenting? What's the strategy?
Yeah, well, and so like YouTube doesn't really have like a DM function, right? And so we have a basically like Calendly link that it's in the description for you to be able to schedule a call, right? And so a lot of times it's just like they directly schedule a call from a video description. Otherwise, it's like oftentimes they're DMing on Instagram or they're emailing. And so like those aren't like links on YouTube, but people have a little bit of sleuth in them, and so they kind of Google and find, and then I'll get a DM. This is like, hey, I've been watching your YouTube videos, thinking about maybe moving to Houston, can we chat, kind of thing. Do you have time to help?
Yeah, I love that. So are you doing anything with like an email list right now? Are you building out an email list, and are you doing that for both agents and for buyers and sellers? What does your email list look like right now?
Yeah, so do a couple emails. Deal of the week is an email that we do to our Sphere and Lead Pond. And so that's, I would say, probably 2 of 4 or 3 of 4 weeks of out of the month, right? So it's not necessarily a deal of the week. It's a deal of a week, not every week thing. Sharon would cringe at my...
it's got to be deal of the week, baby.
Yeah, it's a deal of a week.
deal of the month,
sometimes
maybe. Of a week.
Quarter, deal of the quarter. We'll see. But so we're doing that, and that's one email. And then I have a weekly agent email that goes out every Sunday. And then we also do like a newsletter kind of around what's happening in Houston. And so that's another email. So generally always do the Sunday email to agents, do the weekly email as far as like what's happening in Houston as far as developments and construction and stuff like that. And then the deal of the week goes out sparingly.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a weekly email guy myself. I'm consistent with my weekly email. I have been for the last couple of years, and that's been one of the best things that I have done in my business. And I always feel like if you're not having consistent business, you have to look back and say, what am I doing consistently in my business?
Mm-hmm.
And that weekly email is one of those things that you're doing consistently in your business. Because if you want consistent business, you have to look back at what are you actually doing consistently? Are you making calls consistently?
Yeah.
Are you following up with your clients? Are you doing regular events? Are you regularly posting on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is? You got to be doing something consistently. So my weekly email has been that one thing that I do, and I've had great response from that. I am curious to see, what is the Sunday email, agent email, look like, and what are you doing with that? Like, how are you setting that up and framing that out?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, normally just like kind of a little bit of like my thoughts from the week. And then it's links for masterminds and events. So, I travel less frequently now with two kids, but I travel a decent amount either to attend events or speak at events. And so I'll toss those in there as well as like masterminds and things like that. So I do a Monday mastermind and have for the past like 3 years every Monday on like social media and marketing. So I send out kind of links to that as well as other things that I'm either attending, guest speaking on, or leading. I'll just kind of drop all of those links and it really came out of the fact that like I was getting a lot of DMs of like, hey, what's the link for Monday? Or hey, you're doing a call on Wednesday, right? Like, can you send me the link? And got to the point that sometimes I would like I'd see your message and it was like Tuesday after the call was already done. So it's like, oh, hey, if I send this out every Sunday, like then people that want it can like bookmark these and register for them and get them on their calendar. And that way I'm not dropping the ball. So yeah, it's been helpful to ensure that people get the stuff that they need.
Well, we're getting a little bit close on time, but tell us a little bit more about RevB and where that conference is at. And then we'll have you give one more encouraging message. But let's start with the conference. Tell us where that's at, when it is, and why they should come to RevB.
Yeah, for sure. So it is April 24th and 25th, 2025 in San Antonio, Texas, Real Estate Video Blueprint. People always ask, like, well, what am I going to get out of it? As I said before, our goal is to provide as much of the blueprint of how people are doing things and what they're doing to garner business, as opposed to just saying like, hey, this is an idea that you could try to do. It's, hey, this is the idea, but then this is why it works. This is how to execute it. And here's the framework around it. And so we focus in on short form, long form, different platforms, what's working, AI. And Tim and I really work all year to make sure that we have a well-rounded lineup to appeal to people and to perhaps, if you're crushing it on YouTube, perhaps get you more interested in doing something on Instagram as well, and to add in kind of the different layers of the business.
Love that. Absolutely. So, always on the podcast, we have our guests give a positive and encouraging message to agents who are listening. Somebody that might have had a tough 2024, off to a little bit of a slow start in 2025. What are you telling that agent to help them grow their business and get back on track for 2025? And then we'll close it out.
I hate to copy what you just said, but I think that the advice that you gave earlier, you kind of glossed over it. And I think it needs to be focused in on. And that's kind of looking back on what's been successful and the activities that you were doing to be successful. And so an example I would give is, in our business planning for 2025, some of my agents, we were looking at like where their business came from. And they're like, oh yeah, well, open houses don't work anymore. Right. And I said, oh man, that's unfortunate, because all that we're hearing is people don't want to sign buyer reps, so they're going to open houses. And so then I asked them, like, okay, well, Jamie, like, tell me what are you doing before an open house? Like, oh, well, like I post a picture on Instagram and then I go show up a couple hours early and put out signs. Then I go sit in the open house. I'm like, okay, well, are you going live? Are you going and door knocking? How many signs are you putting out? Like, we kind of go through the list of all of like the expected activities, and like they aren't necessarily doing all of those things that they did before when they were a brand new agent and they were super hungry. And so, I think when you look at the ebbs and flows of your business, if you can think, hey, when I was doing really well and things were busy for me, what were the things that I was doing, right? And should my minimum standard be higher than it is today? And oftentimes, whether it's creating content, whether it's making phone calls, whether it's door knocking, open houses, whatever it is, it's you just need to increase that effort a little bit more and it'll pay off significantly.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Increase your minimum standards, right? Yeah, I love that. So if you can just bring that up a little bit, right? Get back to the beginning, get back to that hunger that you had to succeed in the real estate business. I love thinking about like how excited I am about the opportunity to be in the real estate business. Even after 20 years in the business, I am still as excited or more excited than I am or was in the beginning of my career, which like that's the kind of vibe that you have to be into. We get the opportunity to be in one of the best businesses and get to help people. And if you're not like fired up to be in this real estate game, you get next to somebody who's fired up. You know what I mean? Reach out to me or Katie or Tim or somebody and say, hey, give me some of that fire that you have for this business. Constantly growing, constantly improving. Go to Rev B, enjoy the conference, and do something different. Raise your minimum standard. But don't just do one video and expect to change the world. So, but anyway, Katie, I really, really appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on the podcast and so willing to say absolutely within the first message, within a quick response. You said, I'd love to do it, be a part of it. So, Katie, thanks a million for being on it. I hope that people go follow you. You're doing some amazing things. I hope that people who have opportunities for her in Houston, she's got a great team. She's a great referral partner. If you guys are listening in Louisiana and other states, Katie's awesome if you've got anybody going to Houston. So, Katie, thanks again.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, not a problem. Well, guys, please do us a favor and share this podcast with a friend, tag somebody in it, give us a 5-star review. And we really, really appreciate the opportunity to be in your ears every week. And I hope that you have an amazing day.